Okay, what's up, folks? So this is Eric. Today is September 5th, 2024, and we want to get right into a request that somebody had on the Discord forums. So the idea here is that we want to create a trend line, and then from creating the trend line, we want to limit the amount of time that the trend line is extended for, right? So that we know that when we create a trend line, we have two data points, a beginning point and an end point, and typically we want to extend that trend line so we can see or have an idea of how close the price moves to it in the future. But you don't want the trend lines to continue forever. So typically, like when I've made trend lines before, I'll just have them continue forever and they look crazy across the screen. So somebody had a question to let's limit it by either time or number of bars. Plus, we also want to limit it according to how far. Well, not how far, but if the line is crossed or it's breached. So essentially, that's our task for today. So let's bring up a fresh screen. All right, so we're just going to start by making a simple program where we can draw objects to it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we'll just make I guess we'll make find two data points. So we'll call val1 equal to swing low. This is a indicator that I made, so we'll have it of 10 points, and we'll say if val1 is greater than 0, then save val is equal to val begin. We're going to count span, so we'll count span equals 0. So we're going to restart that count span. So count span will be the number of bars in between the two conditions being met. So again, here we're looking for a condition of a swing low of 10 bars. And then when we do find that, then we're going to begin count span. And so we'll get the count span. And we're also going to save that count value. So so swing low value is going to be equal to whatever that value of 1 was. Okay, so now we want to say once we find one of those points, and then once we find the second point, we're looking for this second point to be lower than the first point. So if val1 is greater than whatever this value was here, so value 1 has to be greater than 0, so that means we got a new swing point, and val1 is greater than whatever this stored value of swing low value is. And plot. Let's just see if we're on the right track here. All right, we had several variables. One was val1 0, one was count span 0, one was swing low val of 0. Okay, val1. Okay, no errors. All right, so this is going to be YT trend line limit. It's here. It's that. Okay. Just got to change this style. It's across, don't connect, plot. Yes, this. Change the color to something that my eyes can see. Blue. Okay, so if we do get a val greater than 1, then let's go ahead and plot 1 of the low And remember, it took 10 bars to find out that we had a new swing low. So let's go ahead and put that at 10 bars. And so we're plotting the low from 10 bars ago. All right, move this up here. Okay, so now we have our dots there where we have our swing lows at. Now again, we're looking for, all we're looking for is that this swing low is lower than that swing low before it. So once we did get a swing low, we're saving the value of the swing low value is here. And then again, if we do have a swing low value, we're checking, and val 1 is, we could do greater or less than, but let's do less than. Val 1 is less than swing low val, then plot 2 low. It's probably plotting on the same spot, right? Over here somewhere. See the plot 1 there? We should have the plot 2 showing up also, actually. Oh, you know what? Let's see here. Because the plot 2, I did not plot that at 10 bars back, so it wouldn't show up at the actual swing low. Plot 2 is a blue one. Yeah, but that's large enough, so that should be showing up. All right. I see what it is, right? So if we put this up here, then it'll work. With it down here, what's happening is once we get this new, so we got the condition met, we got to swing low, right? We got the condition met, we got to swing low. But we're trying to compare this swing low value to this val 1. But we're comparing it after this swing low value has been reassigned the number of the newest value. So it's actually equal. This here is actually equal. So if we bring it up to the top, then it'll say, it'll evaluate it quicker or in the right order. All right, so where are we at here? Uh, 10 bars out. If val 1 is greater than oh, we need to put this first, right? Because we haven't yet assigned, we haven't yet determined what the new value 1 is. Now we've determined what the new value 1 is. There we go. All right, guys. Come on. This is math and science. This is easy, right? There is an answer. There is an answer. This is not, I think, no, it's right or it's wrong. I love it. This is why I love it. Okay. All right, so now that we know that here we have a low lower than that low, we have a low lower than that low, now we can go ahead and draw our trend lines. So if that, then that. Here we're going to plot the low. So instead of plotting the low, let's go ahead and draw our object. So we're going to start our begin and our end. We can plot that, that's fine. But now we'll have our data points. So we will be using the count span. Count span. Let's just make sure that's 0. That's resetting the number. I think we need a new value of count span needs to continue adding even prior to coming to this bar. All right, so we're going to do, we need a trend line to draw from. T line, null. Okay, so now we're going to come down here and we'll have T line is equal to trend line dot create. All right, and then we have bn point dot create bar number plus max bars back minus 1, and then we'll do the low there, right? And then we'll have the second bn point dot create, and then we also have bar number plus max bars back minus, nope, it's not going to be the same one. And also this first one here, this first one, we're going to call this the start point. That start point needs to be this is going to be more complicated than I wanted it to be, because I tell you what, we're going to do it the simple way first, and then I'm curious if I can even, I'm sure I can do it the harder way, but it would take some time. So what we're going to do is, instead of drawing a trend line here, we're just going to draw a horizontal line. We're going to draw a, it's going to be a horizontal trend line, because in order to draw a trend line, you'd have to calculate the slope and make it move that way. So we're not going to do that right now. That'll be part of the bonus part of the video. You can watch that later. Or maybe I'll do another video on it. But here, let's take the, when we find that we have the second low that's lower than the first low, we're going to go ahead and draw a horizontal line. So it will be, this is the starting point. And so it needs to be how many bars back? It needs to be another 10 bars back in addition to this, right? Because our strength is 10 bars back. And so we're going to do the low of 10 bars ago. And that second BM point is essentially going to be the same price level, because it's going to be a horizontal line. Minus 1, minus 10. And it's going to be the low of 10 bars ago. That. And then we're going to draw the object. Drawing dot add T line. Okay. There's our line, right? But see, our line is from 1 point to 1 point. It's exactly 1 bar, right? So we need to extend that line. Okay. So this is where the extensions come in. So if we have a T line on the chart, if T line is not null, then we're going to extend right. Okay, and that's a method, right? I made that a method so we don't have to retype that every time. So we're going to, or do a begin end right there. All right, so we're going to do method void extend right, close that, begin, end, and so we're going to say T line dot endpoint, right? So now we have the trend line object, and we're just finding the endpoint. So watch this. T line dot. You see it says endpoint. Tap on endpoint, and you can do different things there. Okay, but we're going to actually set the endpoint. So if you go back here, set endpoint, do that, and then it asks you for the point. So we're going to do bn point dot create, and then we're going to do whatever current bar we're on, which is bar number plus max bars back minus 1. That's the current bar. And then we're going to do the, we actually don't want to use the low of whatever bar we're on. So when we get here, we don't want to use the low of that bar. We want to use the low of this bar from the start point. So now we have to reference the start point of the trend line object, which is T line dot start point dot price, right? And that's a number, so all we need to do is close that. Okay, all right, and you see what happens is the line is drawn just as long as we haven't created a new trend line. Once we create a new trend line, it starts working on this trend line, and it stops using this trend line. So that would require a method. That would require a loop to get that to work. For the sake of simplicity, we're going to tell you what. What do we have to do to make that work? We need to reference the object, and the trend line is a numeration type 3 in the vector in the collection of drawing objects. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through a loop while we're here, while we're at it. We're going to go through a loop of all the drawing objects on the chart. Let's just do it. Okay, so we will need an index variable to do that with, which is be an integer IDX. And so we'll have a loop which says for IDX equals 0 to drawing objects of vector 3 dot count minus 1, because you can't go all the way to the highest number of how many you have counting, because you have a 0 base index of your vector, right? So your vector starts 0, 1, 2, 3. It doesn't start 1, 2, 3. So when you go up to the number of elements that you have, you can't go up to the full number. You have to go one number below it to account for that 0. All right, so that, and then begin, and then end. What we're going to do is we're going to have a new, and this is something you would have learned if you watched the last video. We also need another trend line so we don't get our trend lines confused. Trend line, we call this T line 2. And so for every trend line that we get, we're going to say T line 2 is equal to drawing objects of 3 dot at the index as type trend line. And now we can adjust, let's say T line. Now we're going to adjust the endpoint of the T line 2. So we'll just take this, cut it, paste it. This will be T line 2 endpoint. T line 2. Okay. All right. So now every line that we had on the chart has its own extension, right? So every time we got one of these new bars, we got a new line here. So let's move this, instead of going 15 days back, let's just go 1 day back so we get less lines on the chart. You see exactly what's happening, right? You see exactly what's happening. Okay, so for every time we get a lower low, we get a new trend line drawn. Every time we get a, where is this one at? I guess a lower low, we get a trend line drawn. Okay, but again, we don't need all these trend lines to come to the very right hand side of the chart. So if we want to limit the number of bars that it actually extends, let's have an input and have length of line. We'll start off, we'll just say, let's go 50 bars instead of whatever it's doing, 50 bars. And then we'll say display name equals length of trend line. We don't need to do tooltip, but there it is. We'll just put NA. It's fine. Close the hard brackets. Okay, so length of line is 50. Okay, so now what we want to do is, in order to limit this to 50 bars, we need to compare it to the starting bar, the starting bar number. So one way that we can do that is if we have a trend line being drawn, before we actually add it to the chart, we can say tline.tag. We just add a tag. There's a couple things that you can add to these trend lines. I think one is tag, one is name, and that's about it. But tag, we're going to add the bar number there. Okay, so we're going to say we're going to continue to extend right as long as the difference from the current bar of the bar number is less than the length of line. Okay, so we need to look at every single one of these lines as we do that, though, right? We need to go through this loop. So we need to say if the current bar number that we're on minus whatever the bar number of the drawing object was. And how do we know what the bar number of the drawing object was? Because we put it in the tag. So we can just go right to, even before we assign it to line 2, we'll just go to drawing objects dot tag and not drawing objects dot tag, but drawing objects of that third index dot at the index. You know what? We better assign that first. So now that we have it assigned, we've already assigned it here. We'll just come down here and then we'll say if bar number minus tline2 dot tag, see, tag right there, as type, and we put it in as an integer because we put a bar number in there, so it's an integer. So if the bar number minus the tag, if that difference is less than the length of line, that means it hasn't got to that full length of the line yet. If it's less than that, then we're going to go ahead and then we're going to reset that endpoint. So we're going to go ahead and extend it out. So we'll get rid of this one. Okay. Now that we did that, you see what we got. Okay. So all these will be what? All these will be 50 long. If we click on this, you see it says, well, that says 59. Why does that say 59? I believe the difference is that 10, right? So let's see. Let me think about this for a second. Because here we started and we got the bar number. Oh, yeah, right. Because here is when we defined that we had a new lower low, right? Because it took 10 bars. So we found it out here. The bar number that we're capturing is this bar number. But really, we need to be referencing this bar number. So we need to take this bar number and subtract 10. And so that's how we get minus 10. So we'll do bar number minus 10 minus the bar number of that current bar. Bar number. And I feel like it went longer. Yeah. Now, obviously, I put 10 on the wrong side, but we got the bar number. Bar number minus. Oh. I see it, but I've got to make sense of it, because what happens is when you get to this bar right here, the difference that you're looking at is from here to here. This is a shorter distance than from here to here. So you actually have to add this 10 back. But so when you're doing the bar number minus that bar, yeah. All right. Won't belabor the point. We can write a dissertation on it later. All right. So now when you click on it, it's got 49 bars. Okay. All right. So that works. That's right, because we said that it's got to be less than. What if we do less than equal? Less than or equal, and then we get our 50. Okay. So now the only other thing that that the gentleman was looking for was if the price crosses below it, then you also want to stop the line. You want to stop the line. So if the T line is not equal to null, then extend right. Okay, so we're going to extend right. This is actually going to call for IDX that if the bar number is less than the length of the line and the price, the open, low, high, close, whatever you want to do, and we'll say the open, I don't know, whatever you want to do, and the open is less, and the open is greater than, if this open is greater than this line, then go ahead and keep drawing it. Open is greater than, how do we find out what the value of this line is? Well, we've already identified it. We've called it T line 2. So, and the open is greater than T line 2 dot get value. We're just going to get the value of it. And what are you getting the value of? You put the date time here. Okay, so bar date time will be the date time of that current bar, whatever current bar you're on. Okay, so if the open is greater than it, then you can go ahead and extend the line. If the open is less than this, then it's going to not let you go down here. Okay, so now once we verify, we ought to lose this one. We'll keep this one. We'll probably lose, well, it didn't have an open below it, so we'll probably keep this one, keep this one. This one will be cut off short. Boom. See that? All right, guys. So that is pretty much it. You know, obviously you can clean this up a little bit, and then you'll be good to go. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns, by all means, leave them in the comments. I enjoy the challenge of doing some of these. I actually had another video that I was going to do for today, but I may not get around doing that. Just on account of doing this one, but that's okay. So, this is how I clean my stuff up. And I like for everything to be indented. I like for you to be able to look at it without trying to figure out what's where. Okay, and then when you open the study, you see that you have the two plots, and then you have your input, the length of the trend line. Okay, and that's pretty much it. All right, guys, that's me. I'm Eric. I'm out. Peace.